Hello everyone and welcome back to Amity Bloom. Today we're going to be creating a bullet journal. The first thing you'll be needing is your paper. I like using 12 by 12 inch scrapbook paper. I also like to use 2 pieces of craft cardstock paper, 11 by 8.5. A standard paper size is fine. Also needing a paper trimmer, paintbrush, scissors, bone filer or the edge of your scissors, some twine and awl, a marker or a Sharpie. You'll also be needing some paper clips and a needle. For the inside of your journal, you're going to want to use paper. You can choose whatever paper you'd like that you'd want to make your bullet journal out of. Now we're going to move on to creating the cover. This is a very exciting part because it's so easy and simple to do. The first thing you want to do is take your craft cardstock and separate 1 inch and 5 inches. This is going to be the spine and your cover. You can make your spine as big as you want and your cover as big or as small as you'd like. You just want to make sure that they're even. You want to place your spine on top of your scrapbook paper as well as your cover to see if it will fit within the limits of the scrapbook paper. So turn your scrapbook paper over, front side down, grab some glue. I am using tacky glue, but you can use any type of glue that you have on hand, and then start gluing on the spine so that you can attach it to your scrapbook paper. This is very, very easy and super simple to do, and don't worry if you make a mess, it'll all be covered up later. You want to make sure that you place your spine in the middle of your scrapbook paper, and while that is drying, you want to go ahead and cut your inside paper covers. Make sure you do this prior to gluing on your covers on your paper because then you won't have a template to use. I like using vintage wallpaper as my inside cover, but you can use any type of paper that makes you happy. Since this is going to be the paper that you're going to be opening up to, you want it to make you smile. So moving on, you're then going to add some glue into your cover paper pieces, so your 2 craft cardstock pieces. This is the base to your cover and what's going to give it structure and form, so it's very important that you apply glue thoroughly on all sides and making sure that it's nice and glued down on all corners. If you're having trouble keeping all of the sides glued down, you can even use washi tape, some extra glue, or regular tape. Now this is an added step, you don't have to do this, but because we're not using cardboard or chipboard, I want our cover to be extra secure since we're just going to be using plain cardstock. To make a thicker and more sturdier base, you're going to want to cut out a duplicate of your spine and your 2 front covers. This is why 2 pieces of craft cardstock is recommended, however you can just use 1. Take your base covers and then glue them on top of the previous covers that are already on your scrapbook paper. If you want to do this step, make sure you cut out 4 covers and 2 spines. Trim and cut your scrapbook paper at an angle, and then you're wanting to apply glue on one side so that you can fold it over. The reason why we cut the scrapbook paper at an angle is so that they don't overlap on the corners and create bulk. Apply a thorough amount of glue with your paintbrush and then fold that paper flap over. It's super simple, but you want to make sure that there's no air bubbles and that all of the glue is adhered down perfectly. You can use your bone filer to make sure all of the edges are nice and flat, and you want to repeat this step on all 4 corners so that when you fold it, you have rounded and nice straight edges on the outside cover. So now moving on into the spine, you want to reinforce it, and the easiest way to do that is with tape. You can use cloth or you can use book tape, but you can just use typical masking tape or even washi tape. The thing to this bullet journal is that it is super simple and you can make it with the things that you already have in your craft room. You can use your bone filer or the edges of your scissors to get into the creases of the spine so that it makes it easy to fold over. So now moving on to selecting your papers. This is one of the most fun parts because it's when you can really get to customize your bullet journal however you'd like. Since this is going to be a bullet journal and not a regular art journal or a typical journal, I like to use papers that are white and very monotoned and very simple. This is because I'm going to be doing my date layouts, my planning layouts, and I'm going to be drawing on top of them, and I want to have a basic canvas to start out with. Even for my scrapbook papers, you can see that I'm sticking to a very basic color palette, neutral colors, and lots of pastels. So now for the folding of my scrapbook papers, I like to fold them a little bit differently than my white papers. Just fold it over so that you can create a little pocket or a little flip over. It's super simple to do. Just go ahead and fold all of your papers and you can cut the excess afterwards. To make my bullet journal a bit more eclectic than the typical bullet journal, I like to use vintage papers, book pages, music pages, the typical papers that you'd find in a junk journal style. This is where you can really go above and beyond with the papers that you choose. Now, once you have your papers selected, you can trim them down to fit inside of your journal cover. Most of the papers will automatically fit into the dimensions of your journal cover, but if they do not, this is when you can take your paper trimmer and cut off the excess. You can even use the excess papers and fold them over to create a pocket. So the possibilities are limitless to how you can cut and customize your paper. These are the 4 different types of inserts that I created, and I'm going to go ahead and customize them even more and include little mini scraps of the papers that we have already cut. This is not only a great way to use your scraps, but it makes your bullet journal a lot more creative and a lot more personal to you. So now that we have the papers that fit inside of our journal cover, it's now time to move on to attaching the papers. This part is a little bit tricky, but if you follow the steps, it's very simple to do. I'm going to take some plain paper. Now make sure it's not cardstock. You want it to be fairly thin, but not too thin that it breaks apart easily. It is going to be the base that attaches all of our inserts, so you want it to be fairly strong. You want to make sure that it also fits perfectly into the dimensions of your journal cover. You want to also fold it a little bit over so that you have the indentation of where your spine actually is. Make sure you securely fold it over where the indentation was made. Make sure that your inserts securely fit inside of your spine. Reinforce your paper spine with some masking tape just so that it's nice and durable and it won't rip when you pass your needle through. Take your Sharpie and mark your dots. Now this is important because this is the template to where you're going to pass your awl and poke your holes. You can measure out so that your dots are perfectly placed, but I like to eyeball it and simply follow the lines of the grid paper that I used. I do recommend using a ledger paper or a grid paper and just follow the outlines of the paper to create your dots. Now you want to take your insert, you want to apply your clips, and you want to take your awl and begin poking your holes. Now I'm using a 3-hole binding method, but you simply poke a hole in the middle, one at the top and one at the bottom, and then you follow that same method with how you take your needle and thread. So take your needle, tapestry needle is the best, and take your thread. You can use waxed linen thread, cotton thread, or even embroidery thread. You want to take your paper spine, pass it through the back, making sure that our tail is on the back side of the spine, and then you want to take it and attach it through the middle hole of your insert. Pull your needle through and drag your insert down so that it's touching the spine. You then take your needle and repeat the same steps to the other 2 holes, bringing them always through the middle so that at the very end you will end up with both of your yarn tails on the back side of your paper spine. Now you want to take both of your strings, making sure that the middle string is in the center, and then make a knot. Make sure that it's nice and secure. I like to always double knot it so that I know that my inserts won't be moving in place. And just make sure that it's nice and secure, and then cut off the excess. Once you know that your insert is nice and securely sewn on to your paper spine, remove your clips, and you want to repeat the same process with the rest of your inserts. Once you have sewn them all on your markings, you're left with something like this, all of your inserts attached to the spine. Now we're going to glue the spine to our outer cover. Grab your paper spine where you have sewn all of your inserts on, and you want to grab the glue and attach it right on top of your yarn. I like placing a lot of glue where the yarn is because the fibers allow it to stick even better to the tape. Make sure you apply glue on top of the tape as well where you secured your spine, and you want to make sure to press it in so that it's nice and secure and your spine won't move. Once the middle part of the spine has been attached with glue, you want to grab the glue and attach the outer parts of your spine just so that it holds onto the book a lot nicer. This way when you go to open your book, your spine won't completely come apart. To reinforce it even more, grab your masking tape and adhere right next to your insert in the spine. Now it's time to start decorating the inside cover. Take your 2 decorative papers that you have already cut down to size and glue them into the inside cover. Make sure you take enough glue and use your bone filer to make sure that they're securely attached and that they won't come off later on. Now that your decorative paper has been glued on and attached on both sides, you are done with your book. Now it's when you can go through, open your book, and see all of the pages that you have put into your bullet journal. I cannot wait to start decorating and creating my layouts in this really cute and eclectic style. But if you want to decorate it even more, you can start by decorating the spine. This is an added bonus which you don't have to do, but you simply take your paper, you fold it along the creases of your spine, just like I did here. I'm using that same wallpaper as I used for my decorative inside covers, and then you just want to apply the glue and press it in. It's super simple, but it adds a really beautiful, delicate touch to your bullet journal, and you can create whatever you'd like for your spine. Some art journaling work, some wallpaper, gift wrapping, even a paper bag. Once you have created and decorated your spine, you're officially done. I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this process and that you tried at home as well. And of course, until next time, I hope that your day is filled with a huge abundance of peace and love. Bye-bye.